What's going on? It's your boy Sermon at Sermon's Domain on Twitter. With over a decade in the rap game, Rick Ross is nowhere near finished. 9 albums in, and he's still delivering for his fans. His latest album, Rather You Than Me, finds him in new territory. Not musically, but the fact that he's no longer under the Def Jam umbrella is a huge change. I don't think it has had much of an effect on the music per se. Maybe outside a guest feature too. The only thing that I can point is maybe like if he wasn't under Epic Records, would he have Dej Loaf on Maybach Music 5? Maybe, but it does seem like something that might have been influenced by Epic Records. Nonetheless, Rick Ross is still delivering for his fans. He's still improving as an artist, and not many people that are a decade in, 9 albums in, can say that. And so Ross definitely deserves all the applause in the world. He deserves all the listens, all the streams, all the purchases, because he's still on top. I had 3 observations initially. The first is that Ross's beat choice is as good as it's ever been. On Rather You Than Me, you have a lot of soulful music on here, and that is where Ross usually shines the best. Like, it's cool, he has a couple trap joints here and there, and they work. But that soulfulness, that's where he really shines. My second observation was that there are a lot of guest features on here, but it never felt like they got in the way. Would I omit any of them? Yeah, probably. And my third observation, the first half of the album is better than the second. And I will discuss that more in a little bit. Now we're going to talk about some of my favorite songs, starting off with Apple of My Eye featuring Raphael Saadiq. So Ross kicks off this album with some soul. He says a lot on this intro. I think that's another thing that Ross is good at, and that is drawing you in with the intro. So between the production and then everything that he goes on to say, you're going to be mesmerized by the intro. Like, he just casually drops a line saying, "I just had a seizure at the Super Bowl." Like, it was nothing. It just like when he kind of made it seem like it was like a brag or a boast, and it's like, what? Like, you just casually dropping that. That's not good. And so he doesn't say it in a way to make like the listener worry about him. He just like casually drops it. He also mentions how he told Meek Mill not to trust Nicki Minaj, and I'm like, damn, Ross doesn't care. Ross really just says whatever's on his mind with no, he doesn't care about the consequences. He really lives that untouchable persona that he's been talking about over the years. Because any other person in that position probably wouldn't have dropped that line. He also says that he wants fried chicken at his funeral. And to that I say, never change, Ross. I love Ross when he really just goes in and says a bunch of random stuff throughout the intro. Because he always says something of value. Or maybe not of value, but of... What's the word? How would I say it? He always says something that is entertaining. That you go into this song, you leave entertained. Because he said some lines and you're like, yeah, that was a dope line. I remember that. The next song on my favorites list is Idols Become Rivals. And it features Chris Rock, who honestly is the most random guest feature on the album. But he only plays a small minor role. He comes in at the beginning of the song and just says whatever. I feel like I don't even think he like wrote this down. I think Ross was just like, yo, Chris, you should get in the booth and just say some stuff. He says, what you know about Wingstop, and I'm with my man Rozay, and et cetera, like that typical comedian type of shout out that you would get. So he adds a little bit of comedy to the aspect of the song. As soon as Chris Rock is done though, the song becomes no laughing matter. Idols Become Rivals it's not even a subliminal diss. It is a direct hit to Birdman. Ross, speaking with conviction, he outlines how he grew up admiring what Birdman had created, but once he met him, once he started to see the shadiness that Birdman is known for, he lost all respect for him. Honestly, if I had to say something about Idols Become Rivals, it's probably the most well-calculated well-constructed diss records in recent memory. Like, this one is probably one of Ross's most honest records. There's not a single lie on this song. Like, everything is told the truth, nothing stretched. Everything is a fact. He talks about how he screwed over, BG, Turk, Manny Fresh, how he doesn't pay the producers. And I'm sure that got a lot of cool points in Ross, or in like the fans, and as well as producers. A lot of people were like, yes, Ross is saying, pay the producers. And he's right. Birdman should pay the producers. Birdman should pay all the people that he owes and everything. So Ross really made sure to hit Birdman hard. And Birdman has already responded. He's like, I don't deal with that whole shit. It's stupid. It's really stupid because he said everything that was truthful about you and you're just going to ignore it. But really, what can Birdman do at the end of the day? He's not really a rapper, so there's nothing he could say about Ross except maybe like the generic, oh, his past is fake and stuff like that. Nonetheless, idols become rivals, man. That is a strong song. And a quick salute to Black Metaphor, who produced it. I think Ross and Black Metaphor have a lot of chemistry. They've worked together in the past. And Black Metaphor as a producer is just a monster. Now let me highlight 2 honorable mentions: Santorini, Greece, and Dead Presidents featuring Future, Jeezy, and Yo Gotti. These 2 records, they're vastly different. Greece is more soulful, second song on the album, and it keeps in line with what he started on Apple of My Eye. And then Dead Presidents is more like a turn-up, fun type of record, but it doesn't come off as like a repetitive trap Rick Ross record. Now let's talk about the bad. So I mentioned earlier how I liked the first half over the second. The tail end of the album is really lackluster for me. I feel like Ross picked out all the right production, but a lot of the concepts, they don't really hit. Maybach Music 5, for instance, features Days Loaf. It's a solid record, but I think it doesn't live up to the expectations of being a Maybach Music song. Like, that series is just prestigious, and the other 4 entries are just on a whole nother level. And so if the song was titled anything else, and it realistically it could have been, you listen to the record, it doesn't necessarily have to be Maybach Music 5. If it was any other type of record, it probably would have been a lot more solid, but it's tainted because it has to live up to unreal expectations. Also, it seems a little bit weird that Justice League didn't produce that one. Like, I get it, sometimes it just doesn't pan out, but I would think that if you're doing a Maybach Music 5, if you're doing a series with a producer for so long, you don't just want to like drop that producer. It's like if Lil Wayne were to do Dedication 6 without DJ Drama. It just doesn't look right. Lamborghini Doors and Triple Platinum are 2 concepts that I feel were very watered down and largely forgettable after you listen to them. There really wasn't anything special about either. I look at it like Lamborghini Doors, it's a cool record, but I think it would be a cooler record if it was like 4 or 5 years ago. This sounds like something Meek would have put on a mixtape. And I think Meek, he didn't really say anything new. Like, we're going up like the Lamborghini Doors. Like, I feel like we've heard something of that variation. Like, how many times are you going to continue to say we're going up, we're being more successful? I think at some point it gets stale, and that definitely shows on Lamborghini Doors. Triple Platinum was just, I don't even remember why I didn't really care for it. I just know that after listening to the album several times, it just never had an impact on me. Lastly, Summer 17 was a poor way to end. This is a record that came out in February, random SoundCloud leak, and then it found its way on the album, and he added Yo Gotti to the mix. It's your generic Rick Ross trap banger. And I don't say banger as in this is a good banger, because there's the difference between a banger that's good and a banger that's bad. And this one, like, the beat knocks, but Ross doesn't do anything. And so you have an album that's so soulful throughout, that has a lot of meaning to it, and you end on just a horrible note. The other song that I really didn't care for comes in the first half. She On My Dick featuring Gucci Mane. If the first half of the album is near flawless, then this record is what brings the value down. like I kind of mentioned with Summer 17, I just don't like these more generic type of trap records. I think with this album being majority against the trap, like there's maybe 4 or 5 songs on here that have like that trap influence to it. I think you could have just take those records off. Just take them off. And I don't know, save them for a mixtape down the road. Maybe this summer or something. Reward the fans for supporting Rather You Than Me. I don't know. But I would have preferred the album to be shorter and omit these type of records if it meant that you'd have a better cohesion. It just doesn't fit. She on My Dick, it just doesn't fit. Summer 17, it just doesn't fit. Rick Ross's Rather You Than Me won't be known as his top album. But if nothing else, it does prove that Ross can still make some good music. Like I said, first half is the best. Second half, you see a real steep decline. I'll definitely be adding some of these songs to Rick Ross's fictional greatest hits album. So those are my thoughts on Rather You Than Me. Once you listen to the album, let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. Then like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, share the video. Follow me on Twitter at SermonsDomain. And as always, thank you for your time. I appreciate you for watching. And until next time, peace.